From the top of the Negro sphere, upper class Negroes look down on the lower. And right now we're about to find out why. Let's continue from the 1945 book Black Metropolis by St. Clair Drake and Horace Caton. Prudence. At the top of the social pyramid, the members of Bronzeville's upper class find some emotional security because it shielded them from dealing directly with lower class Negroes. This upper class barrier created a comfort zone in which they wanted to maintain for the reasons we'll see as we continue. They can never be fully at ease, however, for both the white community and the Negroes have charged them with the responsibility of being race leaders. As they contemplate the job ceiling and the black ghetto, they direct a barrage of criticism at white people, on one hand for being unjust, and at Negroes, on the other hand, for being backward. So they had two bones to pick, one with the oppressive whites and the other with the backward lower-class Negroes. Whew, that's a tough battle if you ask me. They express impatience and irritation with Negroes of lower status. Why? That's what we'll find out. Thus, a prominent Greek letter fraternity man spoke roughly to a girl interviewer, declaring,
"Negroes just don't know how to do things as well as white men. The whites are the ones who can do things, and we copy them."
Meaning not much originality. They copied their social structure, the lifestyle, religion, the mannerisms. They copied all those things, and that's why he felt that way.
"You are here interviewing me because whites make it possible."
He then began to belabor the race.
"Really? Our people are a mess. You can't get Negroes to work together. The only thing that they will stick together in is a church. They just think the other man ought to help you all the time. And if they see you succeed, they'll knock you every time."
This was in the early 1900s. If it sounds familiar today, that's because the cycle continueth. You either get off the wheel or you keep spinning. Now let's continue. Sometimes this racial denigration takes the form of an emotional rejection of the Negro group as uncultured. Thus, a man who has been very successful in his professional life and who has wide contacts with white professionals goes so far as to say,
"If I had to live among Negroes without white contact, I would feel life wasn't worth living."
Now we know that was wild.
"We are so far below the white man. I know he is my superior. I doubt if we'll ever catch up with him."
Not catching up to them because they're playing a game that Negroes were designed to always lose. It's binary. Blacks as inferior, whites as superior. With blacks always seeking to reach upwards to find some equality with whites. And that's not going to happen. Not in that system. It doesn't work. And a young civil servant commented sardonically,
"Nothing is exclusive about Negroes, except that they live in neighborhoods that are exclusively Negro."
Such statements do not imply any admission of biological inferiority, but they may indicate a sort of drop in morale when the contrast in power and prestige between Black metropolis and Midwest metropolis is considered. For example, the same persons who have made the statements quoted above may on some other occasion reverse their attitudes. Thus,
Negroes have an inferiority complex which they have acquired from many years of unhappy experience. This complex is passed on from generation to generation.
A complex is not something on the surface. It's a mixture of emotions, impulses, and memories deeply embedded down in the soil of the mind. An inferiority complex is when those buried forces rise up and they influence how people see themselves in relation to others, which is less than, lower than, underneath, the bottom. And this affects how they act. It also affects how they respond and how they judge, even if they don't know it, which a lot of the times they aren't aware of. And their children, who are highly impressionable, pick up the complex through conditioning. And that's how the code continues from generation to generation. Since the upper class is identified with Black metropolis by white people, and since most of them must live within the Negro community, They are sensitive to any type of behavior which will embarrass the race and thereby reflect discredit upon them. That's where the front comes in, like we have discussed before. Because they meet the Negro masses in the capacities of businessmen, lawyers, dentists, physicians, school teachers, social workers, and journalists, they have rather intimate knowledge of all aspects of Bronzeville's life. They are very definite in their conception of what constitutes lower-class behavior. It is not poverty that outrages their sensibilities, but lack of public decorum, what they call ignorance, boisterousness, uncouthness, low behavior. So to most of them, low income was not the problem. It was the way Negroes conducted themselves, especially in public. Negroes acted in what appeared to the general public as unrestrained. And this was something embarrassing to the upper-class blacks. Sometimes their estimate of undesirable behavior is tinged with moral disapproval, but more often it is couched in terms of race. Such ways of behaving are called a drag on the race, and those who exhibit them are considered neither a credit to the race nor fit associates for intimate social relationships or potential mates for themselves or their children. There is a high degree of consensus as to what lower-class traits are. The following summary is a composite picture abstracted from a mass of interviews. Pay attention because it gets wild. This is what they thought about lower-class Negroes.
Their aims and satisfactions in life rotate around essential things rather than intellectual and aesthetic pursuits.
They have no decent background.
It all centers in the absence of something.
Usually low in educational status, 4th or 5th grade.
Extreme ignorance.
Full of slang about gates, cats, and other jive talk.
Crowded housing conditions produce their class stigma.
Dirty homes, dirty children, dirty people.
Very loose.
Ranges from the respectable individual to the rowdy who beats his wife to make her respect him. Wife is a street corner arguer who starts fights with her husband on the corner at 3 a.m. Both of them are inconstant and run with individuals who are never superior in any sense to the legal mate.
Have large families and can't take care of them.
Children run wild with little respect for parents.
Children are unmoral.
Never encourage them to secure even a high school education, but urge them to become self-supporting as soon as possible. As a group, they are not ambitious, although a number of them have high hopes for their children. Most of them appear to be satisfied for themselves and their children to remain as they are.
Enjoy sexual entertainment.
Sex behavior is loose and overt.
Immorality is one of the criteria of lower class behavior.
On the whole, you don't find the strict morality which exists in the middle class.
Immoral and hang around other immoral people. I don't think there is any such thing as amorality in the civilized state.
His loud conversation runs largely to the women he was out with last night and those he will be with tonight.
Carries a knife and is apt to use it, either in offensive or defensive operations. He believes that others also carry weapons.
Razors and knives as weapons are always associated in my mind with lower class persons.
Some few of them go to church. The majority of them are highly religious. That is, if we give a superstitious connotation to religiousness, strongly swayed by prejudices and emotions. They are emotionally unstable. Arguments are won by loudness of voice rather than by logical thinking. He doesn't try to advance himself in any way.
That's what was said about Negroes in early 1900 Chicago. A few of the persons interviewed brought only economic criteria to bear in defining the lower class. High income meant high status. Low income, low status. Those were a few who defined the class solely on income. The larger number, however, were thinking of a pattern, a constellation of traits, when they considered the meaning of the term. They determined class based on an array of traits. So money alone didn't make the cut on class associations. Rowdy or indecorous behavior in public seemed to be the one trait that in these expressions emerged most consistently as an index to lower class status. So if they were middle income but behave like this in public, they go into the lower class box. Get on in there. Lower class people are those who give free rein to their emotions, whether worshiping or fighting, who don't know how to act or dress correctly or spend money wisely. Free reign of the emotions means the rider let go of the reins and allowed the horses to move however they wanted. The horses are raw emotions, and the rider is the wheel. The wheel's job is to control the horse to the degree that it deems necessary. But apparently, lower class Negroes just let the horse loose. The attitude of the upper class toward the lower is ambivalent. As people whose standards of behavior approximate those of the white middle class, the members of Bronzeville's upper class resent the tendency of outsiders to judge us all by what ignorant Negroes do. The upper class Negroes took on standards that were just like the whites, which ties back into what the gentleman earlier said about just copying. So obviously, if upper class Negroes adopted white standards, then by default, the way they lived would be greatly different from Negroes who did not adopt those standards. And upper class Negroes didn't want whites lumping them in that same box. So they avoided socializing with them when they didn't have to. They emphasized their differentness. But as race leaders, the upper class must identify itself psychologically with the race, and the race includes a lot of people who would never be accepted socially. You hear that? Upper class Negroes, too, depend upon the Negro masses for their support if they are business or professional men. The whole orientation of the Negro upper class thus becomes one of trying to speed up the processes by which the lower class can be transformed from a poverty-stricken group, isolated from the general stream of American life, into a counterpart of middle-class America. For what reason? The front. The intent wasn't from the heart. It was to clean up their public image so they didn't have to be viewed in that light. Think about that. I thank you for your time and attention. My name is Brooklyn St. Michael, and I'll see you in the free world.